If you've been thinking about investing but don't want to deal with the day-to-day hassles of being a landlord, stick around. Today we're going to take a deep dive into how hands-off investing with a short-term rental management company actually works. I'll walk you through what's involved, how professional management makes it turnkey so you don't have to do too much, what the regulations look like, and what you'll need to watch out for if you do decide to go this route. Also, if you're an investor who would like to be notified as new short-term rental approved listings come onto the market, just click the link in the description below. All right, let's get into it. Short-term rentals have become an appealing strategy for a lot of real estate investors. Rather than committing to a traditional long-term tenancy, short-term rentals tend to offer a higher ROI, especially when they're properly managed. And the hands-off model means you, as the owner, don't have to deal with the day-to-day things like cleanings, guest communications, and maintenance. Ideally, a good management company would handle all of that for you. For many investors, the appeal is clear. You want to generate as much revenue as possible from your property without having to become a full-time day-to-day host. You'd rather operate the property like a small hospitality management business, but somebody else runs the day-to-day for you. That way you can treat it as a passive income stream rather than a side gig that you manage yourself. When it's done right, this model allows you to maximize the ROI of your property without putting in an abundant amount of time. I'm obviously a little biased here, but I've been in the short-term rental management space for the better part of a decade, and in all honesty, if I were to do this for my own properties, management is really the only way that I would do it. It kind of gives you the best of both worlds between the passive nature of a long-term rental with the higher ROI of a short-term rental. So, what does a typical short-term rental management company handle on your behalf? In Calgary, companies offering turnkey short-term rental management services often provide everything. Listing optimization, guest communication and check-in, maintenance and emergency support, and transparent financial reporting. They'll also take care of staging and furnishing in many cases, and handle any guest issues as they arise. For a busy investor, this means you won't have to deal with any of the day-to-day grunt work, which I can tell you from experience can be a full-time job even with just 1 or 2 units. From the owner's side, you'll get regular reporting, occupancy numbers, revenue, booking schedule, etc. So it's very equivalent to having a small hospitality business run by a trusted manager that you've hired. Because these companies specialize in short-term rentals, they often know how to maximize occupancy and nightly rates using dynamic pricing. Marketing across multiple platforms like Airbnb, VRBO, Booking.com, etc., and optimizing the listing presentation. These companies typically have a lot of local expertise, which also helps to understand the nuances of your market rather than just using an automated pricing model. And depending on what your particular short-term rental management company offers, it can really make the investment completely hands-off. Short-term rentals can offer a different kind of stability for owners for a number of reasons. One major upside is property upkeep. With a short-term rental, your property is cleaned and inspected a lot more than a traditional rental. And when a home is turned over several times each month, cleaners and managers are inside the space more regularly, which means small issues get caught before they become expensive repairs. With a long-term tenancy, it's very common for problems to go unnoticed for months, and by the time you discover them, you might be dealing with bigger fixes or deferred maintenance. The regular attention that STRs receive keep the property in better condition, and this allows owners to maintain the value of their asset with far fewer surprises. Another big reason why a lot of investors prefer STRs is the reduced stress around problem tenants. With long-term renters, if a tenant decides to stop paying their rent or is causing ongoing issues, the process to remove them can be pretty slow and painful. The eviction process can take a long time, and owners can often end up feeling really stuck in the situation that they're in. STRs simply don't come along with that same risk. Guests come and go quickly, and if anybody seems to be a problem ahead of time, you can always deny the reservation. On top of that, if the property is well located and properly managed, STR properties tend to have a higher revenue potential because you're adjusting your nightly rates to reflect actual demand rather than just charging a fixed monthly rate. So this combination of better long-term maintenance, better ROI, and fewer tenant issues is what makes STRs so appealing for a lot of Calgary investors. So because management companies specialize in STRs, they tend to have systems in place that'll maximize occupancy and your nightly rate. So as mentioned, this tends to translate into a higher overall ROI than a traditional rental. especially in a city like Calgary with decent short-term demand or the occasional big tourist event. Just look at the nightly rates for short-term rentals during Stampede Week and you'll see what I mean. Just keep in mind that this isn't magic. Profitability still depends heavily on a number of factors. There are four big ones: property location, property condition, guest demand, and of course, how well the property management company that you hired actually runs things. One other thing to keep in mind is that because STRs fluctuate with seasonality and events and market shifts, returns may tend to be more profitable overall, but may not be as stable as with a long-term lease. As an investor, you'll also need to be sure that you're accounting for all of your costs, so management fees, maintenance, cleaning, etc. That's why it's important to ensure that you're running a realistic forecast before you get into it, and ideally with a management company that offers performance data or market projections. The truth is, with good management, good pricing, and reasonable expectations, you can create a great passive income stream that's more dynamic than traditional rentals, but only if you manage it like a business rather than a passive long-term rental. So before you sign up with any STR management company, there are a lot of important questions that you'll need to ask. First, you'll want to know exactly what is included and what isn't included in their fee. Fees can vary. Some smaller operations only offer listing and channel management, whereas full service operations are usually higher but are much more comprehensive. As with everything, you tend to get what you pay for. You'll want to ask about their track record. What kind of occupancy rates, revenue, and guest reviews are their managed properties getting? Can they show you performance data, case studies, or take you on a property tour? You need to dig for evidence that these companies will consistently deliver because not all STR management companies are created equal. Also, you'll want to check for compliance experience, especially with all of the new STR regulations in Calgary. Confirm that they manage licensing and can help you through that process, and that they understand the condo bylaws in the buildings that they're operating in and the municipal laws. A good management company should make compliance part of what they do. And the next big thing is just to make sure that you're aware of any of the potential downsides. Fluctuations in demand, the added compliance costs, how maintenance will work, things of that nature. At the end of the day, you're still operating a rental business, you just have less hands-off involvement. Finally, transparency is key. Make sure that any rental management company you choose offers regular reporting. That way you can evaluate whether or not your property is actually delivering the returns that you expect to see. So that's the way hands-off investing with a short-term rental management company actually works. If you'd like more information about how Yorkie can help you with your investment property, or if you just want to stay up to date as new STR properties come on the market, just click that link in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.